Welcome everybody to a very special edition of our What Makes It Tick, and we're going to see what makes it tick behind NIMBUS Control, which is a new platform that we've been developing for a while now. And NIMBUS is basically targeted at both remote and cloud operations. So it's not just for cloud, and it's not just for remote. So the idea I've had, and this has been a long time coming, is to make this so that we could actually have an easier onboarding process for our clients and our users, our operators, our freelancers, our full-timers, everybody, trying to make it so that that way they wouldn't have to know all those little tricks of the trade that we're unfortunately some of us memorize and we know it by heart. It's just muscle memory at this point. Things like logins. Okay, well, I need to go here to install this. I got to have this and that. I'm not trying to put anybody out of a job. I'm just trying to make people's jobs easier. That's the main thing we're trying to do. In doing that, I had in my head for a long time. This has been probably about a 6 or 8, maybe almost 8 years in kind of slowly building things in certain directions. In the last 3 years, it's become a major must. Plus 4 years really, and we're almost to be 2025, so it's going to be almost 5 years since COVID, where we all forced to do this remote production thing. It was not that we weren't forced to it. We were already doing it in our business, doing sports and everything. So I just wanted to make it easier to get to the things that we're doing, which is the major things we need are comms, multi-views, and usually a program feed coming back is part of that. And then just slowly building it. And as we started building this project out, it kind of grew its own legs, and it's definitely become much more than I anticipated at first. We have been growing it mostly all as organically inside the company, and so it's taken us a little bit longer because every once in a while we do work that pays and try to fill the bills, pay the bills a little bit. So most of our production work that we do is for sports oriented. Some of it's virtual meetings still, but it's not as much as we were doing at the beginning of this year. So now we're moving more towards sports as the seasons are going on. So this really became more of a thing. It's like, we need this, we need this, we need this. So we got in deep and we pushed, and we're here. It's great to finally see so many little things coming together. So we're going to start off with a basic rundown of what it is, and hopefully this will spawn some conversations. And if you have a question, please kind of raise your hand instead of just jumping in for now. We are going to record this so that other people can see it. Do raise your hand and use the chat. It's perfectly fine for any questions that happen to come up, and I'll try to transition to those as we go through. So we're going to start off with a nice little share. And so we're going to share in our my nice small screen so that everybody can see it. And there we go. And so here we are seeing it out. So now what we're seeing now should see a desktop. Do you not?
We do.
Okay, that's good, because I don't.
We see the Nimbus thing.
All right,
not your desktop.
fantastic. Thank you for that confirmation, because in the last 2 days we've changed around my whole desk setup. So I actually have a teleprompter now that I'm looking at here, that I'm seeing my Zoom interface on, and then all of a sudden, of course, everything changed whenever I did that from normal. But I normally have an indicator around the screen, so I just want to make sure I was sharing the right screen out of the 12 I have connected. So on the NIMBUS Control platform, the first steps are boring. You log in, you put your name, you put your password. Those are all authenticated. We're using Google. We have multi-factor authentication. We have single sign-on type idea is behind this. And then that's going in to where we're doing, where you end up first is the dashboard. So the dashboard here, this is where each person has their login. This is unique to them. So then they pick the show, they pick the event, the project. Still, project is where we're at right now, because it's not this, like I said, it's not only for sports. So I'm kind of leaning on project, but it could be event, it could be whatever we want to change that to if we need to. So for right now, in the one project that I have, a couple of projects that I filled up, we then picked the project. So let's go with football because football is always fun. And then underneath these cards, or punch cards, as some people would call them, these cards are what are links to be able to spawn, and you can open these links up in other browsers. Is one way. So it's not browsers themselves, but browser tabs, and so then you can spread it out however you want. Now, the idea behind the whole thing was, besides links to be able to, and so it's one deposit, one central place, a repository that has everything in it, so you don't have to go back and forth between Google Sheets or emails to try to find links and things like that. You just go to the platform, you see what you need to see. There is a search item up at the top. So as we have a bunch of cards lined up and everything there, then we'd have that ability to be able to, take it down to exactly where we need. So then if I then click on the tech director, which is our user panel here, and currently I just changed over to Vivaldi as a browser, and I'm still learning a few little things, and I just killed all my back end stuff. So my cookies and stuff to refresh it because Brandon pushed a new update. My engineer, who's done a fantastic job on this, pushed a new update a little bit ago, and so now my links are broken. So this is fun. We're gonna dive in just as we are. We are able to use just about anything that could be embedded in an iframe, and then a lot of other things that are not. So in the general installation, we have a gateway that's it's one of our running on a VM, a virtual machine in the background now. And in that gateway, it does some of the routing and helps there. We also can go gateway to gateway, so we can move traffic across a VPN gateway to gateway. So we could put a gateway in our office and a gateway in a AWS cluster, or Azure, any other cloud, or office to office, either way. So that's kind of how things are broken up and controlled that way. Within these modules, they are very adjustable, and that was one of the big things I noticed myself in my operations, is that a lot of times I would be working on something and I was like, okay, I need a little more desk space there, I need a little more desk space there. So I'm always jacking around and moving them around. These are movable and resizable pretty much infinitely. You can also lock them to a certain resolution, like this is a video one. So I would probably lock it to 16:9 if I wanted to. Right here with set aspect ratio, I can set it directly to what I want it to be. And then there's two places it saves. So it saves to the cloud, and then the next time you log in, it's going to be exactly the way it was. Or you can go to the editing panel and save locally, and then it saves it to the browser. So it writes a cookie in the browser, and then at that point, if you can always go back and say, I want to reset, and see, and I just hit reset and it's back to where I saved it in the cloud. So we can have defaults that we start off with, but the local person and the local user can actually adjust around to build what they want. In the top right, I threw this in just because it's something that I was just trying to populate a bunch of things and use different things. But this is the on-time rundown software. And so that's what I'm pulling off of it. And there's a lot of different views. If I wanted to have something like, here's the editor view, that if I wanted to get deeper into it, or just a simpler operator view. I kind of saw this is the graphics one. And so they needed a little bit more detail, and you could have, as many cuts and as many pieces in there. So I'm going to go back to a different view real quick and just say, okay, so here's the TD show. This one is on the right side here, this on time. You can see that's a more simpler way. And then I dropped in a YouTube at the bottom, and this is coming off of our server, What Makes It Tick. And there it is. It's playing. It's got audio going through the browser, and it has the ability we can embed a lot of different things in there, but we do have the ability to, now here's a multi-viewer that Brandon just very nicely updated for me. So now that's the multi-viewer that's there. And like I said, is if I wanted to, I could take that, and the labels at the top are just to kind of help. I had, I didn't really have anything particular that I wanted to have take up space, I guess you would say. Like I didn't want to, and that's how easy it is. Save to the cloud, there it is, done. I didn't want to have things that were taken up visually. Once that's a multi-viewer. Once you see it, it's a multi-viewer. It's like, why do I need a label on it per se? That's something that some people might want to have a label on it. I don't know. That's input. I'll be glad to take that. Later we'll kind of ask for instructions and stuff. Same thing for the other modules. Once you know they're there, they're there. Then the producer view would be a little bit more of the rundown information. And I kind of scaled this a little bit after that show we did in Aberdeen, where I noticed the producer had just Google Sheets wide open on a big monitor, and that's what he was tracking because it was a desk show. So they had a lot of different elements to cue over and over and over. And the whole time I'm thinking, that's like rundown. That's a rundown. That's a rundown. Let's make it simple. And then maybe a producer might have like this is a QC up at the top. I click that on. So the YouTube QC, so they'll see return back coming off of whatever the stream destination happens to be, that'll be embedded there. And then for this one, I guess we were playing with that earlier. I'm not sure what that was. Let's see what he has. Still need to fix that, I guess. So that's a module that could be embedded coming off the Sienna processing engine. So that's kind of just a starting point. But these modules, you can put multiple modules. There's no limit really, short of desk space. The one thing I did notice as I was working on this currently right now, and let me stop the share for real quick, and then I'll show you what I have set up, because it does make a difference on resolution and things like that. So currently right now, these are those two new thin monitors that I picked up on a best Black Friday deal. So each one of these monitors are 1920 by 1080. These are the 18 ones or something like that, 18-inch-ish size. And my idea behind those was to make something really common. So there's a little nook in the back, and I wanted to really develop this on something that I would use on an everyday basis. I would send it out, to a client out in the field. I would send it to operators at their homes, where they're not dependent necessarily on what hardware they have. And so it still can run on their hardware, yes, but sometimes we want to have things a little bit more controlled. So this is kind of what I was envisioning and kind of working off of. And working off of 1920 by 1080 is really nice, but the but is I also have a 4K monitor right here, and it's huge. It's 43 inches. I love that monitor, and I found that developing on it was just really, really nice. And I think I can see it you can kind of see the corner right here. So this monitor seems to be the sweet spot for me, at least, to be able to do a larger screen and really spread out a lot of modules. And they're really pretty much, like I said, as many as you want to put in there within reason. Yeah, 20 if you wanted to. It's just whether or not you can see it or not. And also I want to show you on those other two monitors, those are two monitors. It's just two browsers opened up, both of them logged into the same user. And they're able to have two different displays on them. So we could have like one I did create in here is audio 1 and audio 2, because I noticed that I would actually have to do both of those most of the time. So I have that in my drop down at the very bottom here. So I might have a demo for audio 1, and then I also would have one for audio 2 here also. So like two different screens, two different layouts, depending on what they need. I don't expect to do it all on one page, but that was where we kind of left off there. Client could be a client view. I never got back to that one. Transmission would be more transmission oriented. Now this was a fun one to do. And I want to fix it a little bit more, because then it's just really easy to do. So whenever we go into, I can remove all the broken modules because I was playing around with it earlier. So this one is really kind of interesting. I'm working with this guy. His name is Havard, and he is in the EU somewhere. He's got a pretty cool little thing. Let me see if I can get it to come in real quick. He has a software based RCP, and this is one of the things we just broke, I guess. Oh well, we don't get to show it, but I'll show it on another screen. The software, it allows us to be able to, there we go, allows us to embed this user screen also within this. We had this working earlier, but we had to make some changes, and we hadn't got back to testing that one just yet. But this guy has really worked into getting it look like a real RCPs between that. Now, of course, the first thing you're going to ask, Greg, I know, is where's the hardware, right? There's no hardware. It is all software, but here's the but, is he is working with a guy I know, some of us know really well, and we just have to keep on top of that guy because he gets distracted with other things that are centrally controlled. And so once we get with that guy, we're going to get with this guy, and I got a feeling we're going to have a surface, or at least some flying faders or something that would be able to give us a little bit more tactical control of each one of those units. I'm not sure if we'll go full on buttons on everything. We'll see. But the idea behind this is that each one of these cameras, and these will work on Panasonic, Sony's he's already working with really well. And then also, if you have PTZs, as I do here, he already has a PTZ embedded control base into it also. So there's a lot of options in this. And I'm really excited. We had a great call this morning, and yeah, so we're going to fast track this pretty quick because he's going to be ready to go to market in about 2 months, he feels like. And this is going to be, it's going to be a game changer for those that want to shade cameras in a more, I would say, just not economical. It's going to be a software as a service also, but is going to be a way to be able to do things a little bit more in depth instead of having to go through browser windows and all that stuff, which nobody likes to do that necessarily, to paint one camera at a time per window like I do on my Panasonics. So we're back to the NIMBUS control part, and let's see if I can get this to refresh real quick. Oh, I am fighting the Vivaldi. There we go. So then under other dashboards, as we were saying, the dashboard that you have, if you want to do corporate stuff, okay, we got corporate. Well, at that point, as I just opened that one up, like here's SPX. And so I could actually be running, somebody could be running graphics out with SPX on this too at the same time. This is just a module. It's just a tab. I can go back to the dashboard if I wanted to, and I could pull off of, say, central control, which I had Connect running there. So I've got video that could be, those are just tabs, and I can rearrange them that way. As much as we can, we're going to try to get into the dashboard itself. And it's just going to take time on some things, and some things just won't work, as we found out. So those are going to be options to open by tab. And so they'll be in the browser, but it's still the same thing, as you will get a control of it by a secure method. So it's not just open up a link that everybody gets kind of thing. And then the other thing is, this worked out really well. So Splashtop has a web accessibility, and I don't want to show you what my password and username are currently right now, so I'm going to type that in separately. But once it's done and logged in, you can actually log in one time on this machine, and then any machine that I have that shortcut in the cards, or any of those links that are on the cards, it'll just pop up and open up right away. And so that was a really big thing, and a big win for me, because I really wanted to try to, again, take down the amount of extra work that you would have whenever we're working with clients and also users. We want to make sure that it's as easy as possible for them to be able to get onto the platform, get to the links, get to what they need without necessarily having to hop through a whole bunch of hoops. And it's like, I don't want to have to teach somebody how to use Splashtop. I just want them to click the link and be ready to go. So now, once I've logged in now, I'll come back over here and share that again. So once I'm logged in, one time on that browser, now I've authorized my account on that browser. Here I am being able to go into it if that machine is up. I'm not actually sure if it is. It's out. It's out next door, and I don't think they fired up the whole rack. So our containers out in the back are MCR. So, but all you have to do is go to it, and then you're into that machine in the browser, full remote control without actually having to open up a client, which is kind of cool. I have to admit, it's something I've been wanting to have for a long time. For monitoring purposes and things like that, we are using, we don't have to use Sienna, but there is Sienna behind this. So we're tied into a lot of modules on that. And if you've noticed, I kind of like Sienna because I have it and I use it and I deploy it in a lot of places, and it does a lot for me. So we kind of naturally wanted to do some things with it. So the SRT monitoring pages are they're a web page that's served off Sienna. That's a link that's coming off the dashboard, easy to get into. And then one of the other things too is the Sienna mixer for their small shows, 6 input type shows. That can be also embedded within Nimbus 2 now. That's one of the last things that we figured out today, we meaning Brandon, because he had to work through a bunch of little things that were kind of putting us in a little place. And so now he's got that up and working. So now that actually is part of the modules also, which is really cool. After thinking about corporate side of things, there is a thing called Scuddy 35, which is the bane of some of ours existence whenever you have to run commercials and stuff. Well, there's a module in Sienna, and we were able to bring in this module also. So now I've opened a tab, but it's actually in a module now, and I can trigger. I don't know if you heard that or not. It triggers. It's one of the new features. Is it triggers and it says commercial break in it, so you can pipe that audio back into comms or into speakers or something like that. And then when it's counting down, it's already set to a 30-second break. So as it's counting down, I don't know if you hear that audio in the background, but it said get ready, 5, 4, 3, and so it's got an automated voice that's counting down. And it doesn't say you're live here, but if you happen to do a splice out and say you're in a commercial break, and this is like free form when you do splice out and splice in, and then I want to do splice in, it tells you you're alive. It's just, there's little things that kind of help, move ahead. So what it's doing is sending out that Scuddy code to out down the stream, out down the data path, and it's triggering commercials on the far side. So there are a lot of applications that's going to come in really handy. And then let's see if this one worked. Splashtop going into one of our MSO1s. Yeah, still not. They must not be up. So then that's basically how it's just like I said before, is you have the user panels, you can drop back into those. Thanks to Jonas, he actually planned ahead that his space comms which if you haven't checked it out, you need to. It's WebRTC comms, and it's so comms over IP. But it's very affordable, and it's really powerful too for most productions. I would definitely put it on par with Unity. I wouldn't say necessarily he's caught up with everything that you can do in VCOM yet, but it's doing really well. And so that's one reason we immediately wanted to put that in. And he wrote his software so that it actually does work well within iframe, so it comes in really nice. Singular over here, actually, I was kind of playing around with things, and we had problems, and we're going to work with Tuomo, who I know well, that does SPX, and so we have SPX graphics already deployed on a couple of projects. But Singular is another one. Singular Live was another one that we use. So I was just kind of playing around with it earlier today, and I was really surprised on how fast I was able to make it work and actually see something work within the modules. So the idea, a real big idea, is that we want to make this easy so that we're not actually having to do all the work for you. And as far as like, as a contract type thing, we want to make sure that you can see and control all the pieces that you need without having to go through, like I said, multiple different software. So here it is with Singular Live logged in. And if I didn't want the preview window, I could do that. But if I did want it, I could see everything that's up, change your around so you have full control. This is a browser controlled. So if I want to change names, it automatically updates. And then, of course, you could fly it on and off and do all the things that Singular can do. So anything you can build in that, now that interface is all right here, not another window, not another browser, not having to worry about resizing things or clicking on something to bring out of focus or whatever. But you could actually just have this one page that you send out, and the user, the graphics person that's doing graphics for you, to do your plan and things like that, you just send them that one. And that one link allows them to log in and allows them to see and access everything they need without having to do a whole lot of extra work on the back end of trying to figure out what do I need to install? What do I need to have running? All that kind of thing. So that's kind of what we were thinking about on the graphics view. Now, there was another one that, let's see if it comes up. Oh, I did. That's so awesome. All right. So on the top of these are all just like examples that I laid out. So my bottom left, my multi-viewer is still having some struggles, mostly because of, I think, some things are powered off that shouldn't be. Space Comms is not logged in because I cleared my cookies right before we started this. But bottom right corner, this is the one that I implemented myself. And this is Discord. So this is our Nimbus control Discord, and I'll send out invites to everybody later to join in and stuff. But the Discord here allows you to log in as a user, and you can respond back to anything that's on that Discord too. So if you had a certain thread, and we have virtual events that they strongly depend on Discord. They don't use comms, period. And so it's either Discord or WhatsApp. And we're still working on WhatsApp. WhatsApp's its own little animal. But the idea behind it is that with Discord, we would be able to say, hey, Bob, turn up the lights again. You sleeping. And then it's going to update it here right on the screen, embedded in the interface. This was just something that we were noticing. I hate having to depend on WhatsApp, or I hate having to depend on Discord on my phone whenever I'm in production, because I have all these monitors, but here I am having to respond to messages and stuff on my phone. It just drives me insane whenever I could do it on a computer. So we have clients, and you could relate this module can be related to, it's actually a free module, so anybody can do this on any website really. But you enable it and everything. You could actually have this related to your own Discord, or you could create Discords. Specifically, it's free to create a server, so you could create a Discord just for a show, if that was the case. So that was kind of my thinking behind that. And then other things that we were talking about last week, maybe talent might have specific needs in their views also. And for the most part, that's really about it. I kind of want to take a pause for a second and see if I lost too many people, and if there was anything else that we would, in particular questions or something like that that you might want to ask. The floor is open. Feel free to drop in anything. Eric, good to see you, by the way.
You too, man. I can never make it to these, but here we are.
Yeah, you did it. So Greg, in your applications for some of your corporate events or corporate shows that you do, would it be something to be applicable that you could use in that? I know you do some pretty high-end sports stuff, I know, besides, some things for me too at times. It looks like Greg fell off actually.
Is there a vMix integration?
Yes, because it's just basically at that point, it's opening up a link. So that would be the dashboard, and then there would be a card on there that would actually have the hard link. And so that is running. The vmix could be anywhere in the world for that matter. It could open up a Splashtop, it could open up a nice DCV, or you could have it local, either one. So that is one of the reasons why we try to be as system agnostic as possible. So we're definitely looking at Carbonite code also as a possibility as a larger thing. So let's talk packaging a little bit. So in packaging this, I'm looking at it as at the lowest level, it's multi-viewers, ingest, and comms kind of tied together with of course all the link capabilities and things like that. Bring your own links and add in whatever you need to get to. The next step after that is going to be more of a managed service, and then the next step after that is definitely a major managed service. So it's not just turn on machines. Oh, and by the way, yes, we can run machines like one button click. That's all there is. And then it fires up everything in AWS for us. That we've been doing. We can also do that off of time and date based, and access into the actual software or the platform can also be restricted by time and day or allowed by time and day, whichever way you look at it. So the idea behind that, Jack, is that we want to be as open to any platform. So right now, of course, right out of the bat, I use TriCasters and vectors. So they're all running. So we use those right off the bat, and those are automatically there. But vMix is one step away. It's pretty simple to do, because then we're just opening up the Splashtop directly into that. The other part of this that we will have really soon too, is with central control as one of our partners, we're able to use his conduits to be able to control those remote machines. So we can control the vMix, we can control the NDI router, we can control the Sienna engine, all through central control as a control interface to that. So this is kind of more the visual and the administration side, but then we'll be able to click a button and open up central control to be able to go out to where it needs to go. Let's see, we had a question from Jonas. So I see Brandon already did that. Yeah, we're still working with the multicam RCP. The only way we could get it to work was doing it because it is a local machine. It's running literally on my machine right here. But that is where we're trying to work with them, and he was very open about, like, yes, whatever you need, I want to get it out there. So I really, and his pricing is going to be very affordable. It is SaaS, like I said, but it's going to be very affordable. So let's see. Yes, Nate, the RCPs will work with FR7s. Scalable guy asked about that. I'm not sure. Well, there's a couple of different ways to answer that question. Let me answer it this way. Scalable, absolutely. It was built in mind to be able to deploy in multiple places. So you can deploy it in the cloud. We can deploy it on-prem, which is how we have it here, but we also have it in the cloud. As I said earlier, gateways can talk to gateways. So we can actually address and grab resources from different locations like that. And then past that, we do have the ability that if it needs to be a complete white label type situation, meaning behind somebody's corporate veil, then we can do that too. So it's not dependent on a specific cluster of servers. They don't have to have access. It could be all just in that one gateway that's running on a local server. But we're open to working with whatever we need to. So let's see, that was a question. Let's see what else. Oh, Niels, I didn't notice you came in. That's great. Glad to have you here. Getting on guys from all over the world here. And we've got to work better at getting some gals in here too, by the way, guys. See what it's asking. Jonas is asking, and I see Brandon's already talking to him. Okay. And yeah, so it looks like Brandon's already taking care of a couple of questions. So Jonas was asking one of them. I'll touch on real quick. Are you able to manage the login for Discord and Splashtop, et cetera, from the platform? Or is that something the platform itself is logged, once you're logged into the module for the Discord, for instance, that is something that sticks with that dashboard. So it sticks with that dashboard, sticks with that user. From what I saw, that's the way it's working well. And then as far as we can manage some of the other things too, but we don't need to share those logins necessarily with the techs themselves. So the idea, again, the idea is to do a lot of the backside work without necessarily having to worry about the techs having to know the nitty gritty of how you're doing. They can see that you're making the sausage. They don't need to know what you're putting in the sausage. That's kind of the idea. Let's see, Andre Dole. Oh, good to see you, Andre. How does the tool compare or differ from the John's Dashmaster 2K? It's not the same. It's we're kind of going different directions. Dashmaster is really cool product. And actually that's one piece that I was using before my resident genius Brandon wrote this back end software where we're doing the modules and everything like that. He wrote that, and and there was things I liked in Dashmaster, but it was a little too limiting in some places that I wanted to have more flexible control. Like I said earlier, it's like I'm always drawing things and moving things around on my desktop, and I kind of wanted to emulate that and have that same kind of feel without necessarily being 20 different windows open in a 20 different browser tabs open, moving around, or programs open. So you're doing this inside. So that's kind of how the differences are between them. They're similar in some aspects, but we're really also about the single sign-on and the multi-factor authentication, the part of being secure behind the whole platform. So that's a big part of what we're pushing towards. Oh, no, Nelson's saying, boss, I closed my window in Nimbus. Can you please bring it back? If you could log in, I mean, pretty much anybody can log in an email, right? So that's how you log into it. And once you're logged into it, you open it up and there it is. So it's just a browser right there. And the editors on the panel, as Brandon was saying, is only the editors of the panel can actually save to the cloud. So we can also have permissions on those. So if they're certain people, which we all work with those people from time to time, the kind that maybe they shouldn't be doing audio, but they get put in audio places, those kind, but whatever, sometimes those people that, as my dad would always say, well, that boy could screw up a 2-car funeral. And that was his way of saying he's just not really got the wherewithal to do it. So we can take down the permissions. So they just open it and that's all they can do. They can't edit it at all. So that's one of the other things too. So even if they close the whole browser, all they have to do is log back into it and go right back to it. And the reset button that is on there, I think I demonstrated that earlier, but I'll show you again. And this teleprompter is killing me. I have to be honest. It's so different to get used to there. All right. So in the display here, we should be able to go into a different view. And then I would just hit the reset button right here. And that view, if I move things around, yeah, did break it. So if I move things around in the modules and everything like that, and I just wanted to go, oh, I can't stand this, so I don't know what I did, you could just hit reset and it goes back to whatever's saved on the cloud. So we are taking a snapshot whenever you hit save to cloud. It's a snapshot of where it is. So it's going to go back to that point. Rion asked about idea of cost. It could be a CapEx, but not really. It's really OpEx. We're selling this. We are going to sell this as a software as a service in some ways, but it's really a platform as a service because there are going to be us behind it, people behind it to be able to do more deeper things that we don't have the controls just yet fine-tuned enough that we can hand that out to the public to do. It's going to grow fast though. We've already been doing really well and moving in speed. And that's one of the things that we wanted to make sure that we could keep this sustainable moving forward. But I'd rather not share costs on this recording here, but you will be able to see that on the marketing site tomorrow. We are going to release the marketing site tomorrow. So that is, let's see, that's a question. I've shared this a few of the screenshots and stuff around with one of my friends and clients that's been around hanging around each other for a long time. Joe Pashley has looked over it, and he sent me back some things. He does a lot of sports, and whenever he came back with me, we're already thinking, it's like, okay, well, we could do this, we could do this. There were more needs that he had for his producers, remote producers then, and he does a lot of that now. And I was surprised too. He sent me some pictures of the multi-views they had set up and all the different things that they were using in a typical show. Like one of these guys, he does a lot of different clients. He freelances for Joe, but he does a lot of different ones as a producer. And I was like, well, that's really a thing now. I guess in some ways I've done that here too, but that was one of the things that he brought up. Was there some other needs that were in there for sure? So other questions, anybody else? Feel free to jump in, drop it on the chat, or let me know if there's something verbally too. Greg, you had jumped out for a little bit, but I asked you earlier, did you see anything that would appeal to you? And you're like, I know you don't do that much remote stuff necessarily for your events themselves, but is this something that you can see working well for some of your corporate events that you may do that are not necessarily on site?
So all my corporates are pretty much on-prem, so no. And the way, I mean, all the sports I do with NBC when we do hybrids, it's very different. I mean, the only thing they have on site is acquisition.
Yeah.
And they send everything up individually. So, like we're doing golf, every camera goes to Stanford, every microphone goes to Stanford. So basically the truck that would be on-prem is Stanford. So they have control rooms that do all that. So that's just a whole different beast the way they do it. This is kind of cool though. I mean, I like the whole, I log in and everything I need is there. Because that's, when we've, dabbled with, trying to make hybrid this and that work. I mean, you got to use this, you got to splash top into this computer, and then, I got to get another thing going to see my multi-viewer. And, so
Right.
Consolidation, I like that a lot, but just
Well,
not
that's what we were
something I'm
trying
doing yet.
that was
And I say
exactly what
yet,
we're
it's
trying.
coming.
Yeah. And I do feel like that as many people that are out there that are, I wouldn't say don't call them anti-cloud and stuff, but let's just say they're later than we were getting to the cloud and stuff. But I feel like that there's definitely a lot of growth in this market. I feel like it's just natural that we're going to do more and more remote.
I guess the only question that does come to mind is this hooks into your back end. I've already got all the back end. Can this hook into my back end?
Yes.
Oh,
absolutely.
okay.
It is built that way for that reason. So
cool.
It could be just a control platform on the top of just administration and such. It doesn't have to be on top of our hardware, our software, our solutions. Yeah. But it also could be both together, if that matter. So, you could add in if you need cloud resources, fine. Okay, no problem. Got them. We just spin them up and then it's just redirections at that point. Yeah. That's the ideal, at least. Yeah. We'll see how many people use it. I mean, we've used some of the back end already, quite actually more than just some. We've used quite a bit of it in the back end for a couple of recent shows and such. And so we know the back end works. As far as making it pretty in front facing is always the bigger challenge for sure. So good to see you, John.
Hello.
Hadn't touched base with you in a while, man. Good to see you.
Yeah. Are you guys spinning up a instance for every time you're purchasing this?
No, this is in our private cloud currently right now, and it's actually not a huge demand on the actual administration side. So we do have redundancy. We do have redundancy already planned out in AWS, and also another Oracle, I think is where we had the other one briefly too. So we do have redundancies already in mind. But the big part of it is it's not serverless. It is running software on a server, but we're definitely thinking about, not having to pay the ticker for every time. But for some people, like Greg was saying, that if it was something that we could throw on a local network on-prem, it could absolutely do that on a very lightweight computer, something like an MS-01, like a Minis Forum MS-01 would easily run it for sure. Because it's really administration for the
Mhm.
most part. Yeah.
Thank you.
Anytime. Oh, and I see one of my curling buddies finally joined in. I see John down there on camera. He doesn't look near as cold as I was, but good to see you, John. Glad you could jump in and kind of get a glimpse in of what we've been working on for quite a bit. We've come a long way, and yeah, we're going to be dropping in some more nuggets as time moves on here over the next bit more. We've got another few days. We're actually going to be for those of us that are also in the office hours community and stuff too, like John. John, have you heard of office hours?
No.
Okay. John Wallace, have you heard of office hours? Have you ever heard of that group?
I have. Yeah.
Yeah. You're once or twice. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Well, we're going to be doing a show on Friday, a second hour, as they call it, on that. We're going to do another deep dive in this and show off some more of the little things that we're adding in. And yeah, so it's going to be a fast and furious next few weeks. And then we hope to start really doing more intaking and bringing it in. We've already got a couple shows that we're using it on in January and have been using it in other virtual events and stuff too that I can't talk about because NDA stuff, but it's definitely something. This is not a brand new thing. We've been using it. So it's been really fun to develop like that too. It's like, oh, hey, we need this. And then Brandon comes back a little later with a couple ideas and, we bang through it. So it's really been interesting. Any other questions from anybody else that's out there? Feel free to drop them in the chat, or if you want to jump on camera and ask it too, feel free to do that also. Okay. And Brandon, this would probably be one that you would want to answer too. Mickey is asking for engineering departments that require direct IP access to networks. Can Nimbus handle a full VPN, overlaid network, and tunnel credentials? Yes and no. From where we're at right now, if you already have VPN, then you could use that VPN, but we could ride on top of that. But as Brandon says, Brandon's a man of few words. Yes. So, Mickey, answer to that question is yes. I was going to kind of dance around a little bit more and add a little more fluff to it, but Brandon says yes. So yes, that's the answer to that question. With most of our, it's like anything. It's like whenever you were building a mousetrap, you keep coming up with iterations and different versions of it and things like that. And there's still a few other things that we haven't been able to get to that we want to add in. But a lot of it is the features that are there that we're really happy with the way they ended up. I see my little thing jumping out. ACL management integration to Exchange. That one for sure, Mickey. I'm not even going to touch with a 10-foot pole. That is 100% a Brandon answer, and he'll be coming back with something good for you, I'm sure. So one of the things that I am going to do this, and anybody that is open for doing some testing and getting their feet wet and just kind of get a feel of it, we're going to open up call it a public beta if you want to, or a public beta, depending on where you're at, because I had a nice friend that always called it beta testing for whatever reason. But if you want to do that, there's going to be an email to send me, and I will post that. And it's simple, jeff@nimbuscontrol.com. And you can send me an email to that and say, hey, I want to be part of this. I've reached out to a few of you guys already, and just to value your input. I would love for you to kind of give me some feelings of, this doesn't feel right, Jeff. Can we add something here? Because I'm looking at this as a very adjustable platform as we're getting started and getting it out to the public and all. I know I had certain things that I had in mind, and whenever I spoke with Joe and showed him some of the behind the scenes glimpses of it, he goes like, "Yeah, I'd never use that." So rundowns, for instance, he would never use that. So, but it's just a module, so it doesn't have to be that. But I would love to get more information for sure. The more information we can get from real users that would use this, the better we're going to be able to make the project. So Jeff at nimbuscontrol.com, simple. And yes, I spelled Jeff with one F, J-E-F, because I have no other F's to give. So J-E-F at nimbuscontrol.com. Send me an email, say, hey, I want to be part of this. I want to try it out. And we'll start setting up some different accessibilities for different people and let you get some testing done. And if you need specific, if you have specific questions, feel free to email me those too. More than happy to have a conversation, or we can jump on a Zoom and do it one-on-one. But that is pretty much our glimpse into it all. If there's anything more, like I said, reach out an email. Be glad to take it over and talk it over and see if we could help you out in a specific challenge that you happen to have. And if you have any cloud infrastructure builds or anything you need with future events, we're more than happy to help you with that too. We can work as a consultant just to help you get it spun up, or if you need to just rent it directly from us too. We've got plenty of cloud resources at our resources. And we were able to add this right on top of it to make it easy to get in and out. So that's going to be it for today's What Makes It Tick. It looks like we are almost at time, but we'll go ahead and wrap it up for the day, and we'll resume again next week, same time, 5 o'clock Texas time, and we'll see what we can come up with to either expand a little bit more on this if we have some more stuff to talk about, or I have another couple things in the hopper that we've been talking about that I'd love to get some more exposure in and let you guys kind of see some of the other things that are happening in the industry. So thanks all for coming. I really appreciate your time, and we'll see you next week.